Okay, how are you, Zahra?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the second episode of the Mosiki podcast that we're doing with musicians now,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought it'd be a cool thing to just record these conversations that we all seem to have.
Engage them in conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, and see what kind of stupid shit comes out of all these conversations. And the first one was with Misbah, and we mainly talked about money.
I remember.
And yeah. So I gave him an intro because I feel like musicians can't give themselves intros, so I'm just going to give your intro quickly as well.
Please, thank you.
I'm just going to list like a load of your credentials, basically.
Yes, okay, cool.
You are the co-founder of the Lahore Music Meet.
Yes.
Which is just finished its 5th year.
Yes.
And you are a member of the band Sikandar Ka Mandar.
Yes.
You are also a member of the band Biryani Brothers.
Yes.
You are also a member of the band Dolce and Ghabrana.
Yes.
You are also a solo artist.
Yes.
And you're a producer and a general like session musician.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what am I missing?
PTSD patient. Like I don't, I don't know what else can.
Just general depressive. And
Yeah, you know how it is.
Yeah. How's lockdown and Corona going for you? This is the first question I'm going to ask everyone while this is still going on.
Oh my God, it's like such a fine balance between am I losing my mind by not meeting people or am I an introvert? Like now I'm confused about who I am.
I feel like no introverts are enjoying this anymore.
Yeah.
Initially, it was like, oh, this is great. It's like nobody's
It's
enjoying
like we got that break we needed, and it's like, now what do we do with this break? And now
exactly.
we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
Even like I wouldn't consider myself an introvert, but like there's only a certain amount you can stay indoors and to yourself.
Because the same people who annoyed you in person are now all on the internet.
Yeah.
So now what do you do?
Yeah.
You can't quit the internet now.
And actually, this was weird because this was a conversation I was having. I was having a Zoom conversation with some people, and we were talking about this, which was that I think artists should really not be on social media, just generally, because I mean I think it really ruins your creativity, and I'm finding that especially true after being online for, this past 3-4 months.
Yeah, and some of them say a lot of things they shouldn't say.
Yeah, true, but I mean that's don't you think that's an artist's like they should think those things, maybe not type them or tweet them.
I don't know if it's an artist problem or if it's like a personality problem. It's really hard to tell because I've never really talked to them.
Yeah.
I don't really believe I should either. But like, you know
Talk
what
to who?
Like, I'm just not going to name any names.
Okay,
I'm just saying,
fair
like, you know
enough.
how like it's like people are now looking for things to like, oh, this person said that, and like now you like, but you also want to be like truthful and honest about who you are. So it's like, there's no way you can do that on social media and make songs and like.
But are you spending more time on the internet during COVID?
Yeah, on places I know I won't find anybody.
Like what's that?
Reddit.
Okay, that's
avoid the Pakistan sub.
Acha.
I don't even go there. I don't want to go there.
So you mean that you just want to avoid Pakistani people? Got you into a corner now.
You did get me into a corner. Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like anybody.
Cool.
But like at least with Pakistani people, it's like I don't like you and I'm one of you. Oh no, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's like I would never be a member of a club.
Yeah.
Club that.
Yeah.
No, I would never. It's a Groucho Marx quote. I would never be a member of a club that would have me as a member. I would never be a part of a club that would have me as a member.
Exactly. Like what kind of a club is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Like you would accept me?
Yeah, exactly.
Idiots? Yeah.
Yeah.
But otherwise, are you feeling okay, generally?
Like
Lockdown-wise?
emotionally or creatively or?
Creatively.
That's a tough one. You know, the thing is that I'm also like, I'm trying to listen to other people's music and I'm trying to figure out like, oh, this is how these people are. Like how you're supposed to do collaborations as openly as you would have before. And then on top of that, you need a visual thing along with your songs. So what am I supposed to do about that? There's
what does
also
that mean?
Like a video. You need a video and I'm not good at the video part of things. So I can make all the audio, all the songs that I want. And then there's the video part and then I don't know what to do.
Right.
So before the pandemic, I would have been like going to people and I would have been like doing, those Jugaad videos from my phone or whatever.
Sure.
Now, if I get people right next to me in a video, I'm going to have to explain why they're next to me in this video. And I'm going to be like, no, I swear to God, we're all negative for Corona.
Right.
Stuff like that, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But have you found yourself being more productive? Or I guess it sounds like far less productive.
Yes and no. Sort of like because like I think that people who produce and write their own songs from start to finish, they have a much tougher time because you lose perspective over like one production over the course of time. Like you started with this thing and then you're just going to drag it on, then you kind of forget what it sounds like to like a layman. And then you start overthinking things. So then that's why a lot of producers start multiple projects so that they don't focus on one and then they don't release any. So for me, at least, I've started a bunch of new projects and I'm struggling with finishing just one.
Right.
So in the sense that I'm making a lot of things, I'm doing great. In the sense that I should finish things, maybe not as much. Something like that.
But it might hopefully correct itself as you go on. You'll start just like slowly picking off projects that you want to finish.
I'm trying one right now. So I hopefully I should release a song in like a couple of weeks.
Okay.
If I learn how to edit, but yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I think the most people will know about you is probably the LMM angle. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably.
I think a lot of people see Zahra Paracha and they're like, okay, co-founder of LMM. That's how we know.
Sometimes they just look at me and say biryani.
Oh, really?
They don't really give me a contest. It's biryani. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's sweet. Chalo.
Yeah. But you've only released one song as Biryani Brothers, right?
2.
21% and?
Sab theek ho jayega.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And have they done well? Were you happy with the response?
I release a song and then I go into my shell. When people start like approaching me about those songs, I'm like, okay, I guess people like it. So I think people really did like it. Both of them. I had a lot of people who came up to me and they were appreciating my synth work. So I was like, Fita, thank you so much. In that sense, I think it did really well. And also, the songs aren't about ishq. They're more about, people suck and everything's going to be okay, guys. So I'm happy with the product at the end.
You say you go into your shell. Why? After you release a song, do you not care about the response?
Well, I would be lying if I said I didn't. I mean, on some level I do. But the world's a scary place. Like, you put out something that like you put your heart and soul into. What if somebody doesn't like it? Somebody's like, oh, isme guitar is not warm enough. Or some like, just BS like that. You're just going to be like, maybe they're right.
Yeah.
And then you get really sad and then
guitar.
Depressed. And then you go into like, I'm never going to make a song again. And I don't want to get into that. So I sort of just go into my shell because I feel like, oh no, I've exposed myself to the world.
Right.
So I think a lot of us do that. We just release. I know Ali Sohail does that. Me and Ali both did that right after Sikandar. We went into our shell. But yeah, it helps us. I don't know how how people like they release songs. I really envy people who release their songs and then they're like, go listen to it, this is my song, I love this song, this is a great song, agree with me. I want that level of confidence. I want to be like, where's my Grammy? But I don't know how I'm going to reach that point. It's a very uphill battle.
Yeah But that's weird because putting on a festival is like a huge scale version of that. No, like at least when you put out a song, you just like put it out on social media and then you can just kind of recoil back into your shell. But putting on a festival means that you have to kind of listen to people, and you're constantly listening to people being like, this was a good year, this was not, this I didn't like this about LMM or whatever.
So in LMM, like in my songs, normally I'm the producer, except for in like Sikandar. With LMM, there's a team of producers. There's me, Natasha Manize, and then there's like a whole other team. So even if like one thing is terrible and it's horrible, we're all going to sit down. Yeah, we're just going to sit down. We're going to be like, damn, that was bad. And then we just like laugh about it. We're like, acha, next time hum nahi karenge. So it's like we share that burden. We share that like credit as well. Like it's all a team effort. Like LMM, I could say like it's me and Natasha and Manize, but at the end of the day, it's so many other people that even if something goes wrong, I'm just gonna be like, man, we did our best. क्या करूँ मैं? इसके अलावा और बढ़ के मैं क्या करूँ? तो मुझे पैसे दो, maybe I'll do better or something, So yeah.
So making songs and putting on festivals are quite dissimilar, is what you're saying basically. Even though the second part, which you said was like giving me more money, that sounds quite similar. You could say that about music as well.
I'm actually afraid if I get corporate backing one day, like what if I suck all of a sudden, like I have writer's block. Aisa na ho jaye. So I'm also afraid agar kabhi mujhe like koi resources sab de de ki you just make your song, just be creative. I'm just going to forget how creativity works. So isi tarike se like LMM, the beauty of all of these things is that I think we have such a lack of money that we just have to put our heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
I know I agree that it sucks. We can't like make like a living from all of these things, and we don't get that monetary value that we crave, but like at the same token, that's also like part of the raw beauty of these things.
Mm-hmm.
If we were like these like bigwigs making money, coming in like with our cigars to LMM, they would be like, what is this? Yeah, we don't like. There's this authenticity that like disappears from the entire thing, which I think also that's the appeal of like the indie scene, that everyone's broke but they're still doing it. वो अभी भी अपने ख्वाब पूरे कर रहे हैं.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the appeal that the indie scene has, and a lot of the appeal that LMM has is from the indie scene.
Mm.
So it's like broke musicians, broke festival. Let's all be broke and happy together.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the start. Like, how did you get started with music?
Man, I had this is like the Adat days.
Mm-hmm.
I had a best friend who had a guitar. I used to go over to her house just to play the guitar. She got really mad at me one day. Okay, you literally just come over to play the guitar. And she was right. So I got my own guitar and I stopped going. And that's how I started on the guitar.
Right.
And I learned Adat. And then
And
I
you
just
lost your
learned all
friends.
and then I learned all of the Jal discography basically. And then is tarike se like EP was also becoming big, call was also happening, so I just started learning all of these songs. The only problem was I didn't have anybody to jam with, so that's when I went into production, because then I tried to record myself playing rhythm and then I tried to jam over that with a lead. But nobody around me was ever into music, ever into production. Ye aisa zamana tha ki like YouTube was almost about to get banned. So there were hardly any resources. I used Audacity, which is the cheapest, like it's the freest and most jugaad audio editor out there.
Mm-hmm.
Usse main kaam chalati thi, and then eventually I started making beats where I tried to replicate what like big producers did. And I will never mention the songs that I tried to copy because again I went to an all-girls school. I didn't have good music taste.
Now you have to
I
divulge.
Don't. No, I don't have to do No.
Okay.
Look, Rihanna. But like point
hey,
being...
Rihanna's good. What are you talking about?
Listen.
Even 20... What year would this be?
2007, 2008 type.
Rihanna was still good then.
Well, I mean,
No?
it's a little cringy when I listen to the songs that I chose.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we were all in that like phase, right? Where it's like, welcome to my life. Like, you know, like everybody was listening to those songs like Avril.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not offending any Avril fans.
Still good, man. I don't regret any of my music choices ever.
I do. I really do. Because like on the one hand, I was like, I play the guitar, I'm going to do Metallica. On the other hand, I'm like, but Rihanna's so nice. Like I had no taste in anything, basically. Mm-hmm. So eventually then I started making beats, and then slowly I learned how to record, and then that's how I went into production. I didn't know it was production. I went to my music society in the college that I went to, and they said it's production. I was like, okay. Oh damn, that's what it's called. And then eventually I found out it's audio engineering. And I was like, oh cool, nice. And then I started learning more and taking some online courses and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the composition aspect of it came along with that. Like after you learn it technically, then uske baad you were like, okay, yeah, now I can start composing my own music. Or was that from the beginning, the composition?
To be honest, like I always struggled with the part of the melody writing and the lyric writing. Apart from that, like because I knew how to play the guitar, like I learned all these cover songs all my life, that I could just pick up like a pattern like, oh, C, G, A minor, that's fine. It was super easy. So in LUMS, I met a couple of vocalists who were really good at melody writing because that's what they focused on. And then together we sat down and we started making songs, and we did really well. Mm-hmm. And that's actually how Biryani started.
Right.
You know, we just sat down, then we had there was this like disagreement, this like really annoying dude who just annoyed this friend of mine. And she was वो गालियाँ दे रही है उस बंदे को, and like constantly वो कह रही है उर्दू में, खालिस उर्दू के साथ just गालियाँ दे रही है. And me and Natasha were sitting over there, and Natasha started singing those words, and I just started playing chords, and that was our first single. I'm not allowed to tell you what it was because apparently it's just unacceptable, but a lot of people know what it is.
Okay.
And that's how we started. I think if I hadn't met these people, I wouldn't know how to compose. In order to compose, I had to see other people also kind of compose a bit of what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the production aspect of it came easier to you than the composition aspect?
Technically speaking, the guitaring and the production, I knew what to do. I just didn't know when to do it or how to do it.
Right. Okay.
Basically.
Okay. Because that's interesting because like you joined Sikandar Ka Mandar later
Yeah.
I guess, as a band member,
Yeah.
as a permanent band member, on my shirt somewhere. Where are you? This one, right?
Right on the left.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I remember that when you joined, it felt like the band really just started to. I mean, I know that you introduced the click and like playing to, like
Yeah.
just really tightening the band up and getting it really like on the beat, on the spot, kind of really playing well together as a band. So was that your like? Was that all of your work? Technically?
The live act?
Yeah, because like now I see Sikandar Ka Mandar as one of the best live acts that I've seen, like
thank
consistently, right? Like they can play anywhere, and I'm like, it sounds like great.
You know, the thing with Sikandar, when I joined them was that so Nadir and Ali are really, really good at what they do. So they have divided up the role of Sikandar. So initially when I went, I was like, okay, so, you know, Ali writes the composition and stuff, and then Nadir writes the lyrics, and they divide it up, and then they come together, and that's Sikandar, right? What I realized was happening was that there was a disillusionment involved in the process of like, oh, we've been at this for a while. I mean, every band needs like this pick me up from time to time. And for them, ye bhi tha ke, they like adding more and more things to each song.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm talking, okay, there are 2 guitars, add a 3rd guitar. Oh, there is a mandolin, add another mandolin. You know, like they just want to do that. So they're like, at least, I remember when Ali showed me the project files for some of the old songs, they had like 10 harmony tracks running. And I was like, that's a lot. And I was actually really impressed, but I was also like, how is this going to happen live?
Right.
And because, you know, when you're producing, I mean, I also don't want to say like, oh, don't do this because we can't do this live. It's like, let's figure it out, you know? So that's when I was like to these guys, we don't have a synth player. And synth is such a big part of what we do. Okay, we need to figure something out about how we're going to do this live. We tried a couple of like gigs where, you know, we just played live stuff and it was okay. It wasn't that great. It was just like hame bhi maza nahi aa raha tha because agar hamara bhi mood acha na ho to phir, you know, we may not play in time. The drummer may not know when to come in. Maybe we can jam, maybe we can't. Like we can't control other people's schedules. So I convinced them, okay, acha, let me make backing tracks and let me try this out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's the first time we tried this out was at True Brew. It was, I think, as soon as I moved to Lahore, around about that time, it was right before our album launch.
Yeah, I was at that gig, yeah.
And that was the first time we tried out the live backing tracks. And I was so scared that my computer was going to explode that I didn't even play like Tu Fikr Na Kar ka jo lead synth tha, because I was like, I don't want to touch anything. I'm so scared. But then it worked out really well. And I was just constantly like, I don't know if it's going to work. And people were like, yeah, it sounded nice. And then for the album launch, we got maybe 2 days to jam, which was perfect because we had the live backing tracks. And then we just went with it. We just started doing this for all. So then I just sat at home, kabhi raat ko, I'm just like free. I'm like, okay, let me make Main Idhar Khada Hoon ka backing track. Because that would be kind of cool, you know? Just stuff like that. And it was fun because we don't have to think that hard about, you know, what we're going to perform or when we're going to perform it anymore. It made Ali and Dawood's life a lot easier for sure. Because I think Ali and Dawood, then they like to do these things where they don't like to come on the one when it comes to like 1, 2, 3, 4. They like to skip it because, you know, they're indie. And for the rest of us, that's a little problematic. As the rhythm player, like, I'm like, oh, but one to udhar tha. So the metronome helps me go like, acha nahi, you're right, you're on the one. And these guys just go like, you know, and then I'm like, you can do whatever you want, man. And everyone's happy at the end of the day. Tu Fikr Na Kar, there were so many effects that I added to the studio version that I just literally picked all of that up and I put it into the live version. And then I mixed it on my monitors and then we just play that track in the background. So in that sense, like, it was all to make our lives easier, and in the end it also made us sound a lot better, basically.
I think so.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
I'm sure it also makes you more confident as a band when you're on stage, right? You're not really worrying about all that other stuff. You can really focus on your own performance, I guess. Like you're saying, you're not worrying about the other band members doing like their own little improvisations or whatever. You're just like, no, I know I'm on time, and you can play more confidently and more like freely, I guess.
Yeah, except sometimes like kuch like idhar udhar agar ho jaye on my laptop. Once I was playing the guitar and like ekdam se it sounded like 8-bit.
Okay.
Like my Super Mario type, and I was like, ye kya ho raha hai? And then I had to stop and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna restart everything, guys. Sorry. But you know, it's okay. Like kabhi kabhar ye bhi ho jata hai. But at the end of the day, I think like even Dawood has a lot more fun. Dawood ko bahut maza aata hai. Like after the gig, we're all just like high on the fact that we all had fun finally.
Yeah.
Like mera thoda sa bad scene ho jata hai because I'm just carrying around like bags with me, tote bags of like wires and like my interface and everything. People are like, can we help you with that? And I'm like, no, it's my stuff. And it's just, but it's fun. Like I have a lot of fun doing these things.
Nice.
Yeah.
And does it reduce rehearsal time?
Yeah, actually Nadir lives in Islamabad.
Yeah.
So sometimes he comes like a night before. And we have no time to rehearse. So we just do like one rehearsal and we're good to go. I'm like, this has happened so many times where we're just like Allahi Hafiz hai. And okay, it turns out it was fit though.
Yeah.
It makes everybody's life a lot easier.
Why do you think musicians haven't picked this up as a, like, it seems to me to be quite an obvious thing to do, right? Rather than just constantly rehearsing again and again and hoping that you're in time, this whole backing track idea or whatever, I don't know the technicalities of it, but whatever you've done with Sikandar Ka Mandar, why isn't that like pretty standard across the indie
I think there are two reasons for this. Ek hota hai ke some bands see it as like it's more fun to do everything live. Like it's more authentic for them. It's more, you know, but that's for people who are so on time. You tell them, acha, these are the chords, this is the BPM, and just show up. This is for like musicians who don't need that. Pakistan mein aise musicians bahut kam hota hai. For some people, it's like, nahi, it's a lot more fun if we just do it all together. It's the energy that we feel. It's like, okay, cool, hippie. But then there's the second aspect, which I think is more true. It's a very complicated setup. It's a lot of routing. It's a lot, like you need a laptop that works on this. You need an interface that has multiple outs. You need a certain type of setup. You need aux cables. You need a lot of things that, and then you need a whole other person to sort of supervise these things. Ye aise log, I think, I do this, and then there's Shamsher from Wisdom Salad. He also does this. I think he does this for Wisdom and the live acts that they do, and even Roots, he did that for quite a while. So apart from the two of us, I don't think a lot of people do this. I think maybe Ali Noor does this as well, but itne zyada logon ko aata nahi hai how to do. So I think that's a very major reason why they don't do it.
Right.
Basically.
Okay. Do you think part of it is laziness? Because this was actually something that I was like, what can I talk to Zahra about? And I was like, maybe I can talk about this because you do so many things, right? Like you are part of 3 bands, I guess.
Why are you doing this?
I want names.
Yeah, they're all lazy.
You run a, like, probably, is it Pakistan's biggest music festival?
I can say it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be true.
Yeah. Well, you run a massive music festival along with other people, of course, and are part of numerous bands and are also like a producer. So what do you think? Do you think Pakistani musicians indie musicians specifically, can sometimes be a bit lazy? Can sometimes be like, yeah, we don't need to do all that backing tracking stuff. We don't need to put all of our stuff on Spotify or whatever, you know, like we can, if people like us, then they'll find us.
Oh man. Okay.
Try your best.
I do think a lot of musicians over here are lazy, but not necessarily because of that, because distribution. I think they're lazy because of the kind of content they put out. Because like I'm not naming any names because I cannot. But there are some musicians who are just in love with autotune. And it's like, okay, cool, you're in love with autotune, that's great. But also like, just do it well, you know? I can hear the mistakes in their production that I guess a normal person would not be able to hear. But at the same token, they're also like, we're the best. We're the best in Pakistan. And it's like, dude, you have to really choose. You can't be the best and also not do your best. You know, it doesn't make much sense to me. At the same token, it's like there are other people who, you know, they play the guitar and, you know, they say that they're the best at the guitar. And it's like, why don't you practice then? Like, thoda sa mujhe hota hai. And I'm not trying to be a snob. It's just like, just don't say you're the best. You don't have to say it. Just do what you're doing. And just, you know, I mean, there are people out there who are going to record with their phones who are going to be better than I'm ever going to be. But then there are people out there who are recording with the best gear. And they're just like, this is the best quality content that has ever come out. And it's like, dude, polish a beep. It's still a beep, you know? So, us sense mein, I think they're lazy in the parts that matter the most. The parts like songwriting,
right?
You know, where you just like, you're like, lyrics to aa hi jayenge. We'll just add Urdu words and it's going to be an Urdu song and that's it. And I don't know, mujhe thoda sa hota hai ki, I don't know, put a little more thought into it. Maybe it's also an art form.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're doing it. They say it's an art form, but then they sort of approach it like it's entertainment, quantity over quality. In that sense, I do think a lot of people in Pakistan are lazy. No,
but that's strange because you said that they focus on quantity, but that requires a certain amount of grift, right? A certain amount of hustle is required to keep pumping out tracks, which in today's like social media music, where most people are just listening to music via what's being fed to them rather than actually like actively going out and pursuing it.
Yeah.
Like I can say, for instance, that an artist is lazy for not making, regular tracks or albums or not putting out enough stuff, but also the audience is lazy as well, right? We expect stuff to be fed to us and without any of the going out and fetching it that you would have expected before.
Yeah.
So on both sides, I think people are lazy. Like I would consider as an audience member that they're lazy because they're not distributing their stuff. Like they have the stuff. Why is it not on these platforms that that we use?
Yeah.
Right? That annoys me sometimes.
Yeah.
Whether it's justified annoyance, I don't know. Some people have some arguments against using Spotify because it feeds someone else's, the artist royalties or whatever. Fair arguments.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
As in, you on Spotify?
Yeah.
And you use, I guess, that DistroKid or something like that?
Yeah. We don't have much choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm saying. I'm just like, you made the thing. You've done the hard work, right?
Yeah.
The easy work is the kind of just distributing it to this channel, and then they'll just like put it up on every like standard distributor.
I think people are also afraid of being that vulnerable in the public sphere. Especially really good artists, sometimes they're just like, pata nahi if we're good enough to be up there. Because, they're listening to like, you've heard this from like literally every Lahori, J. Cole. Like, you're going to compare yourself to J. Cole. Like, you have different experiences, you have a different sound, people have this tendency to compare. And I think Pakistan, maybe it's an international thing, people compare you. And then when people compare you, you start comparing yourself, even to people in the same scene as you, your peers. And that becomes toxic because you're different. You have a different thing you're bringing to the table. This is why a lot of bands end, because of this comparison that other people draw. Like, oh, this person has more of a say in what's happening than that person. And this person is the band, not the other guy.
Right.
Yeah. So I think there's also that element of like, I'm so unsure of myself. My insecurities are like right up there right now. So I'm not going to put my music out there. I don't know how people are going to receive it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can see that. Like people being like, I'm just going to put up on SoundCloud because SoundCloud is just like...
Oh, I was just on SoundCloud, so I decided to upload it, Like I didn't work hard on this track,
Yeah.
If it gets viral, it gets viral or whatever,
Which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way, but like SoundCloud rappers kind of start like that, right? I imagine they're just like, oh, I'm just going to put my whole mixtape up on SoundCloud and hope that it gets big. But,
yeah, basically.
So are you part of the committee that decides who gets to play at LMM?
It depends who's asking.
Like, what are your criteria?
For artists at LMM? It's very subjective. There are some objective factors, but it's mostly subjective. Me and Natasha, we go through the applications individually first, and then we just there are like hundreds, so we have to do it over the course of many days. Otherwise, we just lose perspective of what's happening. There are some people who upload like demos that are more like that are just covers, and we've mentioned that we'd prefer agar covers na ho. We'd prefer agar originals bhejein as a demo. So uske some ke like applications we kind of just put on the side, and then after we're done with our lists, then we compare the lists. Whoever overlaps, we choose that person. And if there are too many, then we start arguing over who gets cut from that list. But basically, we're trying, like, it's a very subjective process. It's never to do with like, oh, this person is better than that person necessarily. It's more like we feel like this person has music that would make sense in the lineup of LMM. More so than anything else, because there's a lot of artists who were really, really good, and just because we didn't choose them for the stage doesn't mean they're not good enough for the scene. I mean, obviously they're really, really good, and they're always going to be really good. They're probably going to be better than any of us. But for the sake of LMM and the kind of show that we were trying to put on, this like gradual, even the lineup order and everything, for the purposes of that, we were trying to like build up a show, and for that we kind of choose people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do do you consider the wider music scene as well, in terms of like this is where we see the future of Pakistani indie music being, or is it not that big?
Like, as in, if we think the people who we choose are going to be the future?
I guess you must, right?
I don't think that far ahead. I feel like if these people, I think that at the very least we provide them with this encouragement that they can reach out. They get on that stage, people approach them, they approach people. They get that confidence, कि अच्छा, we can. If we were chosen for this, we can. And then it sort of just kind of spirals into something even more. And in that sense, people might be like, oh, we started off with LMM. But at the end of the day, I mean, I would love for them to give us credit for it, but also they deserve all the credit for the fact that they're the ones who did it in the first place. We chose them for a reason.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's diplomatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good answer.
Yeah.
Where do you see, this is probably a question I'm going to ask everyone, and it's a very vague question, but where do you see the state of the music industry right now in Pakistan? I asked Miss about this as well, and I think it's probably just going to be a standard question. Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic right now?
We're in a pandemic. I don't know. It's very confusing. This is the best time for people to stock up on their skills. Will they though? That's another question I have. I don't know though. It's already like up in the air. I think if things change in the larger scheme of things, if like miracle happens, अगर pandemic हो सकता है तो फिर Spotify क्यों नहीं आ सकता पाकिस्तान में? You know, it's one of those things. अगर Spotify आ गया, then that's also a game changer.
But it's strange that you're talking about skills so much. Do you really think it's that meritocratic? Like Pakistan, do you really think that if you brush up your skills, your music will get better and that you will therefore get the recognition you deserve?
I think that if the alternate is actually worse, which is that you don't have the skills, right? You're just a singer. You're not like a songwriter, but you're paying a lot of people to write your songs, and they're all kind of like, they're telling your story, but they don't know you, you know, and it's a little like disconnected from you. You end up becoming really famous. You go on these like big platforms, you know, with the colas, and you become massive. And then at some point, it's going to show that this isn't you, you know, and it's going to show that, oh my God, this guy doesn't even know how to write his own songs, or this girl doesn't know how to write her own songs. She's just singing somebody else's words, which is also fair, but there's an element of kuch to ho, you know, that you can sort of back it up with, that fame. I think that if you stock up on your skill, whatever your skill set is, if you stock up on it, and then you get that fame that you so rightly deserve, you have the skills to back it up. Otherwise, you come into the public light and people are like, man, no, this person's not that good. They got there because of some other reason. And then they start speculating and, you know, all those things. In that sense, I think it's a good way to make sure you don't feel imposter syndrome that everyone feels over here all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you're a fraud and that you don't really belong here.
And it's like, okay, if you feel that strongly, maybe you don't belong here. But I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just for me personally, I feel like it's better that I know how to write songs before I get other people to write my songs. So that if I go like, I ask this person, it's not because I just cannot write my songs. It's because I feel like this person would actually phrase it better than I would. You know, I can write it. I just think it would be much better if that person did it. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Right. I mean, that sounds pretty... Like, get your fundamentals right first, and then you can worry about the other shit, like distribution or how to get your music out there or marketing or...
Otherwise, just, like, start acting in a drama or something, you know? Like, agar karna hi hai famous, so just do that. That's a lot easier, a lot quicker. Everyone's doing it. There are dramas all over the place now. Mm-hmm. No offense to drama actors.
But do you think that people get into music for fame?
Yeah, there are some people who got into it just for the validation. Maybe initially it was, oh, it's my art and I'm just doing this for my friends and my family. And then like other people started going like, man, this is really good. And they were like, yeah, you're right, this is really good. And then that need for validation went into like I need to make a dent in the scene. And then now they're just so ambitious. Yeah. I guess they lost sight of how they even started in the first place. Mm-hmm. कुछ लोगों का ये होता है, कुछ लोगों का नहीं होता. Some people are more, you know, upfront. They're more understanding of where they want to be for their own journey. I don't know. I haven't met many people like that.
Where do you want to be then?
Where do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be that artist that I wish I could have looked up to when I was a kid. I doubt I'd ever be famous. I don't have the chops for fame. I can't do that. The idea of being a celebrity is just this mystique, and I'm way too dorky for that. I can't do that. I'm just gonna have to hire a PR firm for the rest of my life, and I can't afford that either. So like, in that sense, I just want to make songs that inspire people. That's it. That's all I can probably hope for at this point.
And do you think is it working? Are you doing that right now?
I think so. I think I am inspiring people. I know that there are a lot of female musicians who are taking up instruments because of me, which is great. Kar lein. And they're working hard at it too, so that's amazing.
Which song do you think you've produced or that you've worked on that you're most proud of?
That I'm most proud of? There are multiple, actually. Like, I'm not even looking at my solo thing because my self-esteem is like ground zero. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm really proud of Chattis, Sikandar's album, usme cassette kahani. Yeah. And Tu Fikr Na Kar. These two songs. Uske alawa, I'm proud of both Biryani Brothers songs as well. I think 21वीं Sadi was like, I was the most unsure about that one. I was like, because I was doing that from scratch and I was just so not sure if it's gonna work. I did everything. I did everything I ever saw Ali do in Sikandar songs. I added 10 harmonies everywhere, and I did everything. I added 10 guitars for no reason, and I didn't expect it to do as well as it did. I have people from India who are really intrigued by us, and it's like, if only you knew us. Or, But yeah, I think Biryani and Sikandar I'm the most proud of. Mm-hmm. And then like there's some cover songs I've done with Dolce and Ghabrana that also did really well. A lot of people approached me and said, did you hear this song by Dolce and Ghabrana? I'm like, dude, don't even.
I made it.
Yeah, I don't even.
That's cool. What is your measure of success then? I guess, is it just like people coming up to you and being like, that was an inspiring song, and I felt inspired by that?
If people come up to me, if I'm honestly at this point, like I'm also just like watching myself in a way, seeing what I'm ending up doing with my musical skills. I think what I end up doing is I am so disturbed by some things in my life that I start writing songs about them. And instead of working through those emotions like in like therapy or something, I'm just writing songs and I resolve it through that song. So in that sense, my measure of success is if I've gotten over a situation because of the song. Because then I just listen to it on repeat and then I'm just like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm right. The lyrics are addressing me basically. So in that sense, my measure of success is, okay, other people are also noticing. Mm-hmm. And it's helping other people as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Just to shift gears for a minute, going back to LMM5, because this is the 5th year. Yes. The last one was the 5th year of the festival. And is there going to be a 6th year? Next, I guess pandemic year is unsure, right?
I mean, if the pandemic doesn't kill us, then maybe global warming will.
Yeah, but if we get through those...
every time somebody talks about LMM and the future of LMM after like this entire thing started, I'm just like picturing like the way LMM5 was, where like everybody was right next to each other. Like the crowd was insane, right? It was great for us, but it's so terrible for like people in Corona times.
Yeah.
So I'm just like wondering how that would even work, We need an audience. Would corporates sponsor something where they know the audience has to be limited, otherwise everyone's gonna die? Like how do you...
I guess you definitely can't run it during Corona times, right?
Yeah, I don't even know how this would work. I mean, the future of LMM... I can't
imagine it working.
Yeah, I can't either. Like, I'm just waiting to see like actual music festivals do it.
Yeah.
Unko dekh ke main karungi ki maybe...
I think I read somewhere that there was going to be one... There's like a music festival coming up where they're trying out certain like techniques of how to run it socially distanced and like proper like mandatory masks and all this kind of stuff.
I would love that. The best part about social distancing is I love my personal space. So even if it wasn't a disease, I'm very happy with this government mandated distance policy. I'm very, very excited.
I'm afraid that it's going to make like stuff like LMM even in the future just feel a bit weird. You know what I mean? Like, you just become suspicious of large crowds by default. I mean,
welcome to how I feel about LMM, Everyone's just, like, suspicious, just like I am all the time.
Fair enough.
Why are you here? Just,
I mean, I hope that doesn't happen for the rest of us. I mean, it might be good for you, but for the rest of us.
I mean, we'll figure something, like, it's, we adapt, Kuch na kuch ho jayega. We started this, and it wasn't supposed to be a thing. We'll continue it when it's not supposed to be a thing either, you know. Kuch na kuch ho jayega.
Which LMM was your favorite? And don't say 5 because that's the one that I didn't make it to.
4.
Yeah.
Why didn't you make it?
I wasn't here.
Because?
I had to go see family in London.
Well, you missed out.
Everyone says I missed out, and
You really
everyone
missed out.
was like, this was the best year by
Oh,
far.
you have no idea. I was at the mixer outside. It was phenomenal. I had so much fun. I mean, sorry, no FOMO. But yeah, like, I think LMM 4 was my second favorite, for sure.
And 5 is your favorite?
Yeah. Because I got to, like, be at the mixer. Like, I know it was really tiring and everything. Normally, I'm just running around making sure the main stage sound is going to be excellent. But in the 5th year, I made sure that the outdoor stage was excellent. And there were so many people that was great. I got to see everybody's reaction in real time for everything. So, yeah. You missed out.
Fuck, man.
But 4 was pretty nice because I played with Sikandar. That was
Yeah.
why I really enjoyed it.
Was that main stage Sikandar was playing?
Yeah.
Yeah. You put yourself on the main stage, basically.
Technically, they were supposed to perform before I joined.
Oh, really?
So,
So you slipped in there right at the right
Lord.
time. Yeah. Where do you draw your ideas from, like songwriting-wise?
my life experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more traumatic, the better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what kind of? I mean, you don't have to discuss it, but it's just like, is it like therapy for you then?
A little bit. It's there's one song that I'm working on, which is more about like, it's about this like government official who's just like, he knows he has the upper hand in a masla that I approached him for, a masla that should have never happened in the first place. So I'm asking him to correct it. And he's just like, oh, you know, and he's being just a government official, like a bureaucratic uncle, typical Punjabi uncle. And I wrote an entire song on him because us waqt I couldn't react because I really needed him to do the thing I asked him to do. So I was like, I'm going to write a song about you. So now I have a song about him. It's therapeutic in the sense that like, isko jab pata chalega na. But like, nahi pata chalega, he doesn't care.
You should send him the song after you're done with it.
You know, he's probably going to be like, this is great, beta. And I'm going to be like, thanks, uncle. Yeah. It's about you. I don't know, man. They're also just going to be like, beta, this isn't... I don't want to get into that, you know? The uncle who's trying to be your dad vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in that sense, like, it's nice on some level.
What was the thing you were trying to get done?
What was the thing I was trying to get done? That I can't say on camera. but like, rest assured, it was a serious thing that he sort of like over green tea was just like, oh, and I was like, oh my god, this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I hate him so much.
So you work through your like interpersonal issues on paper.
Yeah, nobody should get into a padda with me.
Yeah.
This is the moral of the story.
Yeah, you'll send them a song a year
Yeah, I will
later.
write a song on you.
Yeah.
And nobody will listen to it.
You'll just receive an MP3 file. What the shit?
Basically, I'm having like some issues with this one person in my life who just came back into my life after like many, many years. And like, I just can't say what I want to say because I don't want to hurt this person. So I wrote a song. And also this person doesn't believe in music, so it's great, I guess. Kabhi sunega nahi, but you know. It's good.
So it's just for yourself, really, mostly.
Yeah, and if they ever hear it, I'm just going to be like, you think this is about you? How vain.
Yeah. That's a good thing you can pull every time, right?
Yep.
Narcissist.
You narcissist.
Yeah.
My art is about me.
Yeah. I mean, I think art is best when it's done from that perspective, right? If you're playing to an audience, like I haven't heard you say the word audience once.
Yeah.
So far about your music, which I think is probably a good thing because as soon as you start thinking that way, then
it's weird if I talk about I have an audience, like that's weird.
Yeah. I mean, you do have an audience, right? I mean, even if it's a small number of people, but it doesn't matter.
Probably. I just never considered them audience.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't react to them. I wouldn't reply to their DMs if I thought they were audience.
Right.
I just think that they're like, oh, they're such nice people listening to my music. Yeah, let me reply to them.
Fans.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I do think that when people start making art or music from that perspective, it is sort of downhill from there a little bit.
Yeah. It's because like, who are these fans? Why are you like you get sort of like sidetracked about what the real reason was why you did music in the first place. So.
But having said that, I'm even torn because like sometimes I do think that Pakistani musicians or artists in the indie sphere, they veer so far away from any kind of mainstream appeal that they just it's like so experimental, or it becomes so something like, no, this is like my art, and it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe could make it a little bit more palatable for people so it's actually listenable. Or do you disagree with that opinion completely?
There are some indie musicians exactly who say these kinds of things. The ones who don't complain that people don't know their music, that's fine, because then they're just making it for themselves. The ones who make this kind of music and then complain, why doesn't anybody like my music? Oh my god, you know? Because it's like literally sirf augmented chords, tum agar bajaoge to phir kisi ko kya samajh mein aayega. But yeah, I think on some level it has to be an art form. On some level it has to... People appreciate patterns. People appreciate repetition. And a lot of indie musicians don't like repetition. They don't like loops. They don't like to repeat the same things. I don't personally... Like, I am so pop when it comes to my production. I am so pop that I don't understand that side of music. I don't think I'm, like, well-versed enough in, like, jazz and all that lo-fi stuff. I would even engage in that. In the other sense, I think you can tastefully do it and then and sort of, like, go to a larger audience and, like, present your music. वो skill set abhi idhar hai nahi. So I think even if they're like halfway there where they're making these jazzy compositions and stuff and they're happy with it, I think they still succeeded in some respect. As long as they're not complaining, why don't people know about my music? They're fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think more indie musicians should be have a more mainstream appeal? I mean, even aside from the ones that just do it for themselves.
I think that they should, but at the same token, mainstream is really bad.
Like, have you ever been part of a Sikandar record and been like, this is a bit weird, this is sounding a bit too weird?
What do you think my role was in Chhattis? No,
just reining everyone back?
No, there was a lot of stuff happening in a lot of songs, and I was like, nee, but, like, a lot of stuff did happen, but I think with Sikandar also, the appeal is that it's so quirky, it appeals to people who are quirky. So I guess they like that. Oh, it's like offbeat. Oh, that's so cool. It's like, okay, chalo. I can't like infringe upon that, right? That's why with Biryani, it's so 4x4 hi chal raha hai, and it's really predictable. You know what's gonna happen. You know what's going on. In that sense, I think mainstream is so bad though. Like when I listen to mainstream Pakistani
what do we consider
stuff,
mainstream? Like Coke Studio, I guess. The branded shows?
I guess all of these different like corporate shows, like some of them, like I understand what they're doing, I get it, like, and it's nice that somebody's doing something, but at the same token, like, it's not very exciting, you know. You can tell it's a robotic process that they're going through. Like, okay, we're just gonna have this guy play this and that guy play this, and we're just gonna get the singer and that's it. Everybody's doing their own individual parts, which in theory should be fine, but like wo ek chemistry hoti hai jo ke that's missing. And then everyone's like, oh, but they didn't do this, and the wow factor isn't there, and it's because of this producer, and you can't get into that. I just feel like mainstream music has to be more than just corporate backing. You know, if there's like a big artist who's coming on Coke, what are they doing outside of Coke on their own time, their own discography? Usko sun ke, you're a little disappointed. You're a little like bummed out. Ki, man, this person has all the resources. They have all the friends in the world with resources even. And why aren't they doing more? Why aren't they innovating? There are a lot of mainstream artists, in fact, who are interested in indie musicians in Pakistan. And they're like, oh, this person's really good. We should collaborate with this person. And then they don't, you know? I think if that, like, collaboration happens, that would be interesting to see. Because if, like, the indie person brings in, like, a whole other sort of secret sauce, and then there's the mainstream person who's going to be like, no, but we have to make it a little, like, mainstream. It would be interesting to see what happens. I don't think I've ever seen that though. I don't know. Abhi tak mujhe lag nahi raha. Like, I don't know. There's also like the standard of what mainstream is in Pakistan. Mainstream is like Tanpura, I guess. Tanpura, drums, live, I guess. You know, people are like, ah ha ha ha, ye baat. Wo jo music hai. And like, that's a little boring now. Maybe it's nice, maybe it's not. I don't know. Like, mujhe
depends
thoda
how
boring.
It's done, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how it's done, how it's tastefully produced.
I only know really much about film, and so I know that I think it was a quote by George Clooney. He was like, "Oh, I do one for the studio, and then I do like one for me." I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Clooney; it was someone else. But you know, he does one for himself, and he does one for the studio. Everyone kind of stays happy. I feel like that doesn't happen here. No, it definitely doesn't happen in the film circle, but even in the musician circle, like these musicians who are on these corporate shows or big corporate shows. they don't do these collaborations with the indie musicians that you would kind of expect them to, which is like would be one for me, right?
Yeah.
Like this is my passion, and then I'm still gonna be on that corporate show next year probably.
Yeah.
In the similar way that like big movie stars, you don't see them doing any indie productions. I have never seen any of them doing any indie productions, even though I think you have enough money, man.
Yeah.
You have enough money to do it now.
Yeah.
That it's not gonna provide you any loss, and if you're expecting any reputation loss, like get over yourself.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. Like it's आपके कौन से movies बड़े hit हो रहे हैं? You know what I mean? Like it's not like you're box office hits.
For sure.
No, I don't mean that in a mean way or anything.
No, but you're right.
Everyone can fail, and that's fine.
If you talk to mainstream artists, it's ridiculous, but they complain about having no money.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Do you know what that's like? Like, do you even know what broke means? And I think because then they're just equating collaborations with like sponsorships and like star power and just agar paise nahi to phir star power milega. And then they just make like really weird songs then at the end of the day, and it's like, yeah, what are you doing? I think there's this like, oh, we're just gonna make a bunch of really like, it's not like one and then one. It's more like we're just gonna do a series of really commercial hits, and then we're gonna get really famous, and then we'll do whatever we want. And then wo naubat hi nahi aati at the end of the day where they get to do whatever they want. So,
yeah, you just never find that time.
And maybe at that point they have writer's block all of a sudden because they don't know what to do anymore. Kuch ye bhi hota hai.
Because that's interesting, because what you were saying earlier was about the like you wouldn't know what to do with money if you got it. Right? Like if you got a big commercial project, you'd be like, I don't know what to do with all this money. I have had very similar stuff where when people are giving me money, a budget to make something, then I'm like, oh shit, like now I can do anything.
Yeah.
And when you can do anything, then that's a big issue, right?
Yeah,
because limitations are the kind of food for creativity most of the time.
Yeah.
When you can only do a certain amount of things, then you have to try and work within those four walls.
Oh yeah, I don't even, like, what if you get all this money and then, I mean, look at Coke. They're like, oh, you have so many resources, why do you suck? And it's like, but if objectively anybody else with no context of what Coke is, they listen to these songs, they won't be like, they suck. No one's gonna be like, this is the worst production ever.
It's good.
It is actually pretty good. They're just comparing it to like, oh, but you have all the money, so why isn't it amazing? Why isn't it wowing me?
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to get into that position, I'm just really happy with the way things are right now, like maybe I'll buy my software if I have money. Finally.
Not just cracked versions.
I'm not gonna confirm nor deny that, but like, maybe I'll buy some like of the stuff that I use. And it's tarike se like, but I don't know what I would do. Like, I don't know what artists I would call on. I don't know how that would even work.
Yeah.
It is scary, the thought that you're just like, yaar paise nahi hai, and then ekdam se paise aa jaye. Oh no.
Yeah.
Like fir kya
what
hoga?
do I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah. It leads to that kind of paralysis, I guess. Creative paralysis, where it's like, when I can do anything, I might as well just do nothing because it's much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just keep doing the same shit I was doing again and again and again.
Yeah, ye bhi. Basically.
I felt that even Coke Studio at this point, even if it does something new, it's not going to sound new.
Because they've set the standard of like just being innovative. If they just said they were fusion, I guess that would have been fine. But when they call themselves innovative and then they're not innovating like every single year, people are going to be like, hey, you're misleading us. And also then there's like Pepsi going on, and then everybody's like, oh, the cola wars, and it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
All of this, like, I think even this hate for Coke is so. There were some really good songs from even the season before this one, jo abhi nikla tha, and I contacted the artists who did those, and I said, okay, you were really good on this, but the entire season got so much hate that like I don't even know if they got that appreciation for doing that.
It's probably hate from like our circle of musicians, no?
Oh, hamare to hate to karte hi hain. I'm talking about nationwide, like national hate. I think they got a lot of hate for that season. Wait,
you didn't message Momna Mustassan for Coco Corina, did you? Because then
like she's on my speed dial.
Like that was really good.
Mom and I are best friends. No, I would no Coco Corina. No.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing that happened.
Good.
That was man, that prompted our government to be like, hey, what's going on?
Really?
Yeah, dude, the human rights minister, what's her face, Shireen Mazari, was like, ye kya hai?
Really?
I'm paraphrasing, but kuch aise hi usne kiya ki they did a bad job, and it was a whole thing. It was hilarious. So the government was also like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And the government never says anything about anything. So this was interesting. This was a national atrocity, basically.
Yeah, a human rights violation.
Basically, is what everybody was joking about. But is tarike se like not moment, no. No, me and her are like best friends, but like no.
Yeah.
But is tarike se I think I think that they didn't get that appreciation because it was so popular to hate them. Ek to ye bhi hai, it's so popular to hate in Pakistan.
And it's so much fun.
It's a lot of fun, but people are so mean. You know what I mean? Like even for like Pepsi, you know, some of these bands are really, really good, but like some of the hate that they got is like so unnecessary.
So you guys went on Pepsi Battle of the Bands and Sikandar Ka Mandar. It's a good segue.
Oh no.
So did you? I mean, but I think you were only in the episode for like less than a minute.
You know, this is before I joined the band. This is how I actually joined the band.
Wait, but you didn't audition?
No, I went with them. I was never part of the band though. And then because of everything that happened in this, then I became part of the band.
What happened?
So I didn't know what it was. They asked me, I was asking Ali and Nadir for some help, just generally in understanding how songwriting works, trying to learn from them. And then Nadir asked me, hey, you want to play for this show that we're doing? And I was like, fit hai. I thought it was a concert. And like my buddy nikli unke saath to a studio in the middle of Kurangi, and we came out and like they took my phone and I was like, okay, what's going on? And it turns out it was a TV studio and it's like Pepsi. And it's like, what is happening in here? And then I figured out, actually, this is a TV show. You know, Nadir kind of didn't really mention it. Probably didn't feel the need to, but like I was also like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to be here for a while. And then I was just really confused.
It's a waiting room of like...
It's like a massive... Warehouse that they just dressed up in blue. Like blue. Ali was wearing red. They were like, no. Yeah.
No way. They don't let you?
I guess they don't. Like, they were pretty concerned. And is tarike se, like, I was just like, what are we doing here? And I didn't know these guys very well. So I was like, what do I do for like the next 12 hours, I guess? I'm just with them and I'm just hanging out with them for 12 hours and I didn't know them.
And you didn't know
that it was going to be on a show like this. I didn't know we were auditioning either.
No, but you didn't know them either? You didn't know the guys?
I knew them, but not that well. I was not part of the band.
Right.
I just thought, oh, I'm going to play for one gig.
You were basically kidnapped.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, they just kidnapped
you. It was my car, but I don't disagree. Yeah, I was under duress.
You kidnapped yourself.
But it was a really fun experience because like I was just sitting over there for like 12 ghante. Hum wait kar rahe hain. And I'm like, kis cheez ka wait kar rahe hain? Ho kya raha hai? And then like beach mein like the judges would come into the room and wo bas ek cheez sunate the. Random si like tip si cheez, and like then the cameramen are like zooming in, and it was just such a surreal experience watching the guy from RO just go like, you guys need to bring your best. And I'm like, what am I doing here, dude? And then basically raat ko finally we got our chance to audition. We didn't even jam that much. We jammed for like one night, and I was really concerned because I was like, I don't know the songs that well, and I was just mimicking whatever Ali was gonna do. And then we went up on stage. Oh my god, the host was obsessed with my gender. Anyway, but then we went up on stage.
Who was the host? Aishamar? That's what you don't. I can't remember who was on there for that.
I'm not going to confirm nor deny that.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically I'm not part of the band, right? So she gave a interview kar rahi hai of this entire band. She gives the microphone, right, to me. And I'm like, no, I'm not part of the band. Then I gave it to Ali, you know? Mm-hmm. And then she was like, nahi, aap thodi der ke liye pakde. And I was like, okay, chalo. Then I hold it and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to hold it, I guess, for them. And then she asked me, aap is band mein kab aayi? And I was like, man, it's first time. Mm-hmm. And like, I was so awkward. I was like, why am I the spokesperson? And then on top of that, these guys did this really weird thing. And it was great in retrospect, not in the moment. They started interviewing us in that lounge and they said, तो ये नाम सिकंदर का मंदिर कैसे? And then they go like, ये ज़ारा आपको बताएगी. And I was like, you know,
that's
like, I was like, बस history का शौक है. I didn't know. I was like, I don't freak. And then I just made something up and I was like, ha. And then these guys, they didn't really care much. And then we finally auditioned and they were just so happy. The judges were so happy. But then some issue with our drummer or something, they were like, oh, your drummer is with another band and this is a big issue. This is the biggest issue.
Which song did you guys perform?
We had to do, I think, an original and a cover. We did Etabar, I think, as a cover, but I don't remember like how it sounded. I was too scared. And then there's Bemisal. We did Bemisal.
Okay.
Without the mandolin though.
Achha.
So it was 2 guitars playing the exact same thing.
Right.
And basically all the judges were really happy and everything was great. And they were like, but, you know, and then the judge is like, but, you know, your drummer, pause, is, pause.
Yeah.
In another band. Pause. And I'm just like, मैं सोच रही हूँ, like, what?
So wait, the pauses aren't added in post-production? Those aren't edited in? They actually pause?
I guess in that
in
moment, like, he was like also doing like the, you know, the disagreement.
Yeah.
And I was just like, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा था. मेरी शक्ल एक perpetual परेशानी होती है. So in that moment I was just like, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And I think it was a bad thing. And then we finally got to go home. So I was like, I don't care. I'm going home.
Did the judges say that you're not going to be making it to the next round?
वो next day पता चलेगा.
Acha.
So we were like, okay, we're going to go home and sleep after this day. And I took my phone and we went home. The next day we came back.
Did you confront the band about like, yo, you guys didn't tell me this was Pepsi Battle of the Bands you were taking me on?
I'm with a bunch of boys in a band. This is gonna happen. They do this all the time with me. They do this so much with me. Like, Zahra aap batayegi.
Yeah.
Because they have no idea what to say. And it's funny. It's great. Like, kabhi baar main mongi kar leti hu and it's fine. So, even if main unse baat karungi, to kya hoga? वो exactly वही चीज़ करेंगे in the future. But it's okay. Like, I handle their backing track. So, so whatever. So basically, the next day we went in and then we're waiting 12 ghante. Actually, this time it was 14 ghante. And we're just waiting and waiting. And then I don't know, those people are making like bands fight with each other or something. I don't even know what's happening.
Battle Royale or something. Like.
Yeah, and like there's no pani, but there's Pepsi. So I was like, okay, I'm in TV show. Like, and then they were like, you didn't make the cut. Your drummer. Yeah, your drummer is another band. And I was like, okay. Like, no love lost, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I didn't wait. I waited 14 hours for you to tell me something you told me yesterday. I was like, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. It seemed like it's a big waste of my time, what happened in these last 2 days. And then we went back, but then at the same...
That was it?
Yeah, this entire, like...
Did they tell you that on stage, or did they tell you that behind the scenes?
They told us... on stage, I think they made like 3 of us stand, and
because I haven't seen this episode, that's why I have no idea what actually aired.
Trying to forget this episode so badly. People keep bringing it up, but basically they made like 3 bands stand, and then they did like aap aage aaye, you know that thing that they do,
right,
and then
right.
I was just like, man, I'm so sleepy, you know, I don't want to be here, and none of us wanted to be there. Even Ali was like, yaar kya hum kis cheez mein pad gaye hain. And then we went home, and then there was a little bit of like this sort of sucks what happened for them, like, because I wasn't part of the band yet, but like for them it was a little like, this kind of sucks, because no TV show should be treating like any band this way, you know. We were actually treated a lot better than some of the bands, but they still
who were made to fight to the death in the waiting room.
I don't even know, you know, they were just doing some really odd things. Like, they were just like, you're sitting, you're having a conversation, you're speaking at a low volume, you're probably saying something you don't want people to know. There's a freaking boom mic coming above your head, and like, you're not going to notice, right? You're just going to... I saw somebody look up and go like...
Yeah.
It's kisam ki cheezein, and it was like, that's really weird. And then there were like these older people in like these other bands like that have existed for a while, like dad rock types. So I think thoda sa hua tha ki, man, we don't want to end up like that. You know? Okay. Which makes sense, because you're at that stage, but you're being treated like this. Something like that. Because they treated you really badly. They gave you korma that tasted like ketchup for your lunch. They took away your phone, which is also fair enough, but also like...
Yeah, I can understand that. But yeah, for 12 hours.
And nothing to do except talk to each other.
Yeah.
No offense to my band, but like, you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically this is how it happened. And then we went back, and then we started talking about how maybe we should just release an album. We need to make it seem as though Pepsi is like regretting this decision.
Right.
When in fact we did, but like, we wanted to make it seem like Pepsi would regret this decision.
Like, I broke up with her, she didn't break up with me.
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
We are not the wrong party.
Right.
And that's when we started working full stream into Chattis, and since I was more interested in the part that Ali played in the album, I kept going to Ali's, and we started working on the songs together. Nadir had already written most of the songs. I remember even Cassette Kahani, the way that we wrote it, oh my god, it was I had already moved to Lahore by then, and we had this one last song left, and I was like, we are going to finish this. I was like, I don't even care, we're going to finish this. And Ali was like, yeah, I don't know, mujhe writer's block ho raha hai, this and that. Maine kaha nahi. So then I went to Karachi for a gig, a Sikandar gig, and then I went over to Ali's and I was like, let's write it right now. And for no reason, I'm just like forcing him, like, let's do it right now. I don't know many words. I'll tell you all the words, you tell me if it works. And then ekdam se he just wrote some stuff and it just flowed so well, and I was like, writer's block, my, whatever. But like, he wrote it and then he got his mother to narrate it.
It's a beautiful song.
It is a beautiful song. And then uske baad, a few days later, Nadir went over, Nadir wrote the second verse, and is tarike se we just finished the song. And then I sent him sound effects like Jugnu ke and like Raat ke, and is tarah se we did remote production for the song, and that's how Cassette Kahani got produced, remotely essentially. But Ali just wrote it in like a day, basically.
So like, some of the tracks did come out of the experience of Pepsi. Cassette Kahani and Uncle. Uncle is obviously...
I think all of them came out of the experience of Pepsi. Because
really?
Because we started working on the album right after that. That's when I joined it.
Oh, no way. So these were all produced like immediately, like essentially immediately after Pepsi.
Because another thing is that they have been working for so many years on Sikandar. I think that they sort of also needed a little push to complete what would have been their second album.
That little rejection kind of pushes you into...
That rejection, and then that little brat was like, nahi, tum khatam karo, Sikandar ki maa.
Yeah.
And then I just kept going like, no, but this is fine. Oh, we can do this. Oh, we can do that, And on top of that, there are a lot of people in the indie scene who are like, iska kick drum itna loud. Like just unnecessary comments like that. And I'm just like sitting over there, to uski maa ke kick drum. Like, I'm just, main kehti hu, I don't even care. If you can put out something better, do it. We have to put this out regardless. So this became my goal in life in those next few months. We have to release this album, because if we don't, I'm going to be sad. And then we just kept working at it, and eventually khatam ho gaya. We were supposed to have 12 songs on the album. We just reduced it to 10 because it made more sense that we can immediately just release it. Then I would meet these guys so often. I would be like, acha, track listing batao mujhe ki what order of songs should we use and kya hona chahiye. And yeah, that's how it happened.
It's an incredible album.
Thank you.
I love that album. Like, that gets a lot of repeat plays for me. Even, definitely. Like, I think it's one of... I don't know, I really like it. And Uncle is probably my favorite song of that year that it came out, which is, ironic, especially since it's entirely about that experience.
Oh my god, that experience. Yeah, in fact, I think we wrote the song, Nadir wrote the song unhi dinon mein.
Really?
In the same days. And then he was like, listen to this, like, Uncle mujhe bachao, it's ironic, But I was like, yeah.
And the I don't know, it's not the chorus, but the main, that little Harpal Jile. That is it, right? Yeah. That's that little play on Pepsi's slogan. Yeah. I thought that was really funny.
And then we played at LMM that was sponsored by Pepsi. So that was fun.
Sticking it to the man.
But they wanted us to come back. So I was like, chalo.
Yeah.
No.
Huh.
And then
So all in all, a net good experience, because it came out with a really good album.
I think it was a great experience. I was just really glad that it didn't take any of what these guys or me, what we said out of context in the interviews, because there were some really bad interviews. There were some terrible interviews that we did, especially like what the origin of the band name was, stuff like that.
Why? By the way, why does every single like music journalism piece about any Pakistani band, it doesn't matter who is, that's their first question. Like for now, I completely refuse to ask this question now. I don't care what your band name is. It does not interest me at all.
Yeah.
Like Janubi Khargosh, I think always like, oh yeah, what's this band name? As if it's the most interesting thing about it. This person.
Biryani Brothers. Oh my god. I really.
I'm sure I have asked this before, by the way.
I don't think you have. I think people are like, we don't have an answer, right? We say why not? Like, that's our answer, right?
Who cares as well that much?
I mean, it's not really something to really think about, right? But then people are like, no, but why not sisters? And this was like this was such a huge question. We did this gig for the Human Rights Ministry very recently in like February, and oh my god, they don't
understand alliteration.
All these like old people in the crowd who are all like, why not sister? And they're screaming from the crowd.
Like and throwing tomatoes and shit.
Yeah, and I was just like, I didn't know. I wanted to say we are gender fluid, but I can't do that, right? Because they're so old, they won't know what that means, right? what about fluid? Like, I don't want to do that, But yeah, a lot of people ask this.
Biryani non-binary.
Oh my god. Oh, exactly. And then at some point, people are like, oh, this is a play on this because of Benjamin sisters. And I was like, sure. Yeah. Whatever floats your boat, whatever. I don't know.
I like how people find it that interesting. Like, it's interesting to me that people find it interesting.
Somebody else said something like, it's a play on, like, khayali pulao. And I was like, okay. I guess maybe
creative.
It's more creative than we are.
Yeah.
So sure, if you say so.
Yeah, you were just not rhyming words, but just
we
being
just
alliterative.
We just like biryani. That was it, and we were bros. That was and there's like a whole thing about like how I once got Natasha biryani in the dorm when we lived there. She was really depressed and she was staying in her room. I got her biryani, Lays and Coke once. So I guess we just liked biryani a lot. That was it. No science behind it, but if people want to come up with theories, sure, I don't really mind. And
then you feed it by calling your other brand Dolce and Ghabrana.
That was a wonderful name.
Yeah, that's a very good name.
Because everybody on Instagram especially tags us. Mm-hmm. All those like wannabe influencers
but they tag you as accidentally.
Yeah, it's great. There's like this like one picture of somebody's going like life gets you down, but you have to pick yourself back up. Tags us, and I'm like, okay, you just pick yourself back up, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
We love our fans.
Yeah. Just. But yeah. So इस तरीके से I think biryani का ये है कि all these old people are like, what a silly name. I was like, you haven't even seen our videos yet. You don't even know what silly is.
I think to end this podcast we have to finish with the main question. Why is it called Sikandar Ka Mandar? Like now we have to know. You can't just leave us on this huge cliffhanger.
These guys once told me this thing where they had a reason that they started with, which was the actual reason, I suppose. And then whenever somebody would ask, because they're trolls, they started telling a different version to each person, and they did it for so long.
It's like Joker's. Want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah, exactly. I love these guys because they do weird, Yeah. But basically, they give this different version. You want to know
how I got this band name?
Yeah, and now they don't remember the real reason.
Right.
So I never really got introduced to the real reason. We can get into like the Alexander's temple type of a scene. It's great. I don't know.
What's the main story you tell people? What it's called when they ask you?
I'll be like, I just joined the band, dude. I don't. I believe that there's a certain philosophy that this band follows, and it's too deep for me to understand.
Right.
Who really knows?
That's disappointing, man. I was expecting like a proper.
Same.
Big backstory.
I really wish I also got one.
Yeah. Next time, if we'll get Alisa Hale or Nadir on the.
Or just give them a call right now. कि जवाब दो मुझे कि ये नाम का क्या scene है?
No, I'm gonna ask them the question in person. I want to hear.
Please. Once we went for a radio station interview, and the guy asked, so why the title Chhattis? And there's an actual reason why. There's a legitimate reason why. And Nadir goes like, I see. Like live on air, and I was like, no, there's a reason. And then the RJ just started directing all the questions at me. Sometimes they just don't want to tell you. Mm-hmm. And you can't force them.
No, I'm gonna force them out. Force it out. It's gonna be the big question.
Do it.
Please do subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or YouTube. We're on all of these platforms. Let us know what you think. Thanks for listening.